Welcome to She's a Full-On Monet, a digital lifestyle magazine for women. Every week, our editor-in-chief, Kelly Castillo, along with Megan Block and special guests, participate in a deep dive discussion about recent articles and topics we have covered. We invite you to become part of our community where everyone's welcome. So today's episode, we are talking about a couple of different articles that we have recently published that kind of go together. One is celebrity diet endorsements and how that affects the way that we view our bodies, how it affects teenage girls and young people who are seeing that. And also we're going to talk, because it's hand in hand, about body positivity. And as we go into summer, kind of how all bodies are summer bodies, and maybe more importantly, body neutrality, because I think body positivity and body neutrality, while they get interchanged a lot, they are different things. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. I think probably every single woman on planet Earth can relate to this subject. And if you are a mom of daughters, as Megan and I both are, I have two daughters who are 19 and 23, and Megan has two daughters who are younger. So we are right in the thick of, how they view their bodies and all the issues that come along with changing bodies as you grow into adulthood and all of that mess.
The fun that is, right?
Yes. The fun that you have to look forward to, right?
Oh, man. Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun. I don't feel like it's an age thing. I want to say that, my 9-year-old she's now starting to really become aware of her body. I feel like we're always, no matter what age we are, we never grow out of that. It starts certainly at a certain age, but we always go through stages, especially, when you're in your 20s, and then after you're a mom and your body changes. It's like, we're always conscious of that, and it doesn't ever go away, so when she's starting to now talk about it, I'm like, oh, the road that you get to be down forever. I'm hoping we can get to a point where we just love the body that we're in, and we're not in that comparison game. So these two topics I'm excited to talk about today.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It does kind of impact us at every age, because when you're a preteen and your body start developing, that's like a eye opener. And it changes the way, and then, grown men it's gross, but it's true. Grown men start paying attention to you in a way that feels icky. And that makes us look at our body differently. And then as you age, then, you can not eat Chick-fil-A for every meal and have exactly the same body you did as a teenager. It changes when you have kids. It changes when you hit your like mid to late 40s and you're kind of in perimenopause. That changes your body and changes your skin, your hair, everything. So yeah, I think this is something that we carry with us through life, unfortunately. And hopefully maybe by the time our kids or our grandkids get to those ages, they don't have as many issues coming at them from, whether it's from the media or from other people. I think a lot of it is generational. I see a big difference in like my husband's generation and how they talk about weight, how they talk about bodies, versus what's acceptable now, as far as like maybe not my generation, but definitely my kids' generation, and the way that they see weight and bodies versus, the older generation. It's a huge gap.
Yeah.
So maybe by the time we get to the next two generations,
we'll really be back on the healthy track again.
Yeah, we can correct the craziness for sure.
Yeah.
So I think we can start with the celebrity diet endorsement issue. And this to me is a bigger issue, because I do have daughters in that age range who follow on social media a ton of celebrities. And they are, like I said, 19 and 23. So they're in that exactly perfect age for kind of buying into the sneaky marketing and sneaky advertising that social media offers now, where it can look like, a celebrity or influencer is kind of letting you in on something secret when really they're being paid to talk about a product that they may or may not even use. And a lot of these people that do the celebrity diet endorsements, they have a huge team in place behind how they look. They have, whether or not they've had any kind of surgical enhancements, they have nutritionists, they have trainers, they have chefs, they have a team that does their photo shoots, that makes, and then that edits those photos. So what they're portraying is not necessarily attainable to like a regular person. And they're not shouting out their, their plastic surgeon or their chef or their trainer. They're shouting out diet lollipops or those thin teas or body wraps or something,
Mhm.
and trying to
Yeah.
make it seem like that's, yes, I look like this because I drank this tea. What?
Yeah.
Are you
There was like
serious?
a big thing that came out with like Kylie Jenner about how she said that she attains her body through exercise. It's like, no, like it, first of all, I saw this TikTok video about a woman speaking about it, and she made some really good points. She's saying that if you say that, you're already setting up young women and people that follow you and want to be like you to say that if you work out hard and I can look like that. That's not all you're doing. You want to be honest. And then somebody made a joke about, oh, her plastic surgeon changed his profession to personal trainer, because it's like they don't want to be completely honest about how they attain that. And the things that they are talking about, they are not under any obligation to actually consume those products. If you give them a price point that's high enough, then they'll, and if it's on brand, they'll endorse it, but they don't have to take it. There's literally, like you said, like a team of people creating this person. And at the end of the video, it's like, Kylie, you want to look like Kylie Jenner? Kylie Jenner doesn't even look like Kylie Jenner. It's like
Right.
such a good point to make, that it's like, please don't tell people that if I just go exercise and go on the elliptical that I can look like you, because that's not what's happening behind the scenes, and it's
Yeah.
unhealthy and it's scary, and it gets people in your kids' age and younger who know who Kylie Jenner is to think that that's all they have to do. It's not all
And the
you have.
problem with that is that when they start an exercise routine, which is great, it's healthy, everybody should exercise. When they start an exercise routine and they don't get those results,
Mhm.
then they go to more and more extremes and they start
Yeah.
to say, what's wrong with me that I'm doing what she told me to do and I don't look like that?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
false advertising on like the unhealthiest level, because it's
Yeah.
causing girls to have this, image issue that they're thinking, well, I'm doing what you're saying. Why is that not working? And that's probably not what's actually happening. Yeah, she's probably exercising a little bit, but there's so much more that goes into it. And that's just one person, but she's very influential. Even my 9-year-old knows who Kylie Jenner is, and she doesn't watch any of the Kardashian stuff, but she knows who she is.
Yeah. And the Kardashians in general have really gotten a lot of flack for this. And I think rightly so, because they have made their whole business around having idealized body types. They really push it, whether it's a show about revenge bodies, whether it's, photo shoots that really accentuate and they've made a ton of money off of looking a certain way. But when they also advertise diet lollipops, appetite suppressants, thin teas, which almost all of them have done. I don't know if Kendall has. I haven't actually seen that from her, so I don't want to kind of generalize, but I have seen it in Chloe's social media, in Kylie's, in Kim's, and that is just when you hold yourself up as a body ideal, and then you equate it to things that can really contribute to disordered eating. That's not great,
No,
because if teenage girls, young women, anybody actually, that's not even an age issue. If
no.
you are struggling with disordered eating and then you see a celebrity kind of normalize it by talking about drinking just thin teas or doing a body detox that's with cayenne pepper or some crazy thing, it just makes it seem like whatever you're doing is okay and normal, and okay, everybody must be doing this because they're talking about it too. So it's okay that I'm only drinking tea or I'm taking laxative tea or whatever it is that is happening.
Yeah,
Um, and then that's really dangerous.
it
So
is.
I love like Jamil. Am I saying that right? I don't actually, I should have probably Googled that.
On how to say.
On how to say, how to
I'm
pronounce.
the
Cause
worst at knowing. I just
yeah, I'm so sorry
for
if
the
I
longest time. I'm the worst at, like, I look at something and I exactly how you think it would be said. That's how
that's
I
how
would
I
say
say it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sincerely apologize if I am mispronouncing her name because I actually think she's fantastic. Jamila Jamil, she's an actress and she has really spoken out against celebrity diet endorsements and the harm that it can cause for young girls. She actually created a whole social media thing called I Weigh, which is just about body positivity, body neutrality, and healthy eating, healthy exercise regimens, whatever is healthy for your body, kind of just doing what your body needs and not worrying about looking a certain way. So she has been one of the most outspoken celebrities coming out against celebrity diet endorsements. And I think, it's one of those things like we used to be okay with celebrities endorsing cigarettes, and it used to be okay to put them into movies and advertise, even advertisements that were, very thinly veiled children's advertisements for cigarettes, right? That used to be like a whole thing in the 70s and 80s. And then as we realized how harmful it was, we changed the legislation and the rules about that. And I see this probably going the same way. I
I
think,
hope so, because it's like you always think behind all these things is there some big money, something that's backing up keeping this image issue, because this issue's been around forever, you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like, why is it not getting highlighted more? Probably because somebody out there is making a ton of money off of, whatever, that they keep it kind of hidden down there, so I'm hoping so. I mean, you see more curvaceous people in commercials and, modeling and stuff like that. There's less of this, what should I look like issue, but it's getting so unrealistic. Like, I keep bringing them up because they're the perfect example of it, but the Kardashians are
Yeah, hourglass
I
figure,
don't even,
exaggerated hourglass.
if I thought, okay, if I want to look like them, I would wear one of those like weight corsets, and I would walk around eating a salad that I'd shake up, you know what I mean? And then I would like drink some diet tea, and that's all I would do, and like
And
do a workout. And
yeah,
that's how
that's
you make a
another thing.
Kardashian.
That's another thing that they've endorsed are
Yeah,
these weight training corsets that,
I
I
remember
mean,
that. They
all the
would wear them
doctors,
proudly. Like, that's
yeah,
all she would,
all
Kim
day.
Kardashian especially, like all the time. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if I want like this, because that's what society is telling me, maybe it's not even me, but I've now been subconsciously told by, society. And this can happen at any age. Women, especially women that have had kids, they go through so many like body issues that they no longer feel, they still want to be wanted. We don't want
Yeah.
like the gross men situation, but that goes silent, then that also gives you this weird image issue. So women also look at that and go, okay, so now I just wear this corset that squeezes everything in and pops my organs out into places. It's like, I'm going to have to walk around holding my organs in my hands because they can't fit in
There's no
there.
space. Yeah.
There's no space. And even if I put them in there, then I'm still not skinny enough because, like, sorry, I
Yeah.
need organs in my body,
As
or
we
I
all
have to
do.
walk
Yeah.
around holding, want me to be that skinny. I don't know how they do it, but it's like, I do remember the corset situation, and I remember it being all over their social media feeds, and I just remember thinking that can't be healthy. But I'm not a dieter, so I don't know for sure. I've always been small and thin, but I also have image issues as well. But I mean, I've never considered doing the corset, but I remember thinking that couldn't be a good thing.
No, doctors were coming out at the time saying that this is really bad for your body. Like you're really compressing internal organs and moving things around, and you shouldn't do that. And she was talking about how she was wearing them like 20 hours a day or something, taking them off only to shower, and that was how she was getting this tiny waist. And I mean, I know people did that back in the Victorian times. That was like a normal way of dressing, but they also died at like 40 years old. I don't think it was
Oh,
good.
oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's like you hear that. I hear the fact that she wore that 20 hours a day, and I go, wow, she has to be probably the most self-conscious of them all, because even the people that we idolize still have body image issues as well. We all suffer from it. So
Well,
it's
and
like,
then
when's
if you
insanity gonna
if
end?
you have that kind of whatever body dysmorphia or bad body image issues, and then you start doing these really kind of fringely weird things to, get a result that you want, whether it's wearing some crazy corset or drinking nothing but thin tea or juice cleanses or whatever it is. And then society and the media give you a huge reward by giving you all this attention and telling you how great you look and telling you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's that just kind of perpetuates the disordered eating situation that is going on, and body image issues,
Hmm.
because anytime you get rewarded for doing something that's unhealthy, that is really dangerous, because somebody has to speak up and ask you, are you okay? Are you okay? Because it's not normal to wear that for 20 hours a day. Um,
No. Every decision that you make when you're someone like that, who people want to idolize and look like, if somebody is bringing your picture into a cosmetic surgery and going, make me look like this person, then you have the obligation now, because of how crazy social media is and how accessible it is, you have the obligation to make sure everything that you do and endorse and say isn't going to lead someone down a toxic path, you know?
yeah.
Because because as unresponsible as you want to feel for that individual, like you, they wouldn't have known about that lifestyle choice had you not said something, and they were already obsessed with you to begin with, you know?
Yeah.
Like if Kim Kardashian does it, I'm going to do it, no matter, even if my doctor tells me it's insane, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
People will not listen to common sense just because they're the person that they idolize does these things, or says that they do these things, you know, or endorses these things. You know, it's dangerous.
And it's not, I mean, we're focusing on the Kardashians, but it's not just them. So
No.
many celebrities do this. Cardi B, what, right after she had her daughter, posted an Instagram post about the thin tea thing that she was doing to get her body back after childbirth. And you know, one of the big issues I have as a mom, is this society and media celebrating celebrities who bounce back so fast after having a baby, and they take photos of them, paparazzi photos of them, just weeks or several months after having a child, and pick apart their bodies and whether or not they've bounced back and how they look. And it's so bad. It's so
Yeah.
bad, because that is a time of our lives where our body just did something miraculous. And
Yeah.
and it's healing, and that's normal, and we need to normalize giving it. If it took you 9 months to get your body to where the baby was full term, it should take you maybe 9 months to get back, or however long
So,
it takes you. Who cares?
newsflash, our priorities have shifted and our free time has gone from this to nothing. So, like,
Right.
I'm sorry I haven't hit the gym, but I've been keeping a person who cannot do anything alive. My
Right.
priorities have shifted, and as it should. Like, you should be able to spend that time being a mother and creating your body, even if you're not breastfeeding, like just making sure that you're whole and healthy and not worrying if you have a six pack in 2 weeks. Like, that's ridiculous, you know? And drinking tea. And that's the, like I said, those are the people that have like the highest image issues, is that they feel like they have to. I'm sorry, that sucks, you know, that you feel like you have to. And hopefully more celebrities will come out and be proud of the fact that it took them longer, because that's the normal healthy way. Because
Mhm.
I think we're all hoping that that will stop. You know, we don't, good for you, but also at the same time, now we're all feeling like that's what we have to do. You know, celebrity or not, we all feel like, well, if she did it, then it's technically possible. So now I should have to do it too, you know? No,
Exactly. We have Victoria's Secret runway models who walk the runway just a couple of months after giving birth. And I mean, I don't know. That's their job. So I
that's what I'm
get it.
saying. Like, that's literally, they get paid millions of dollars to do. Bad timing, but they also know that. And then they hire a literal team to get them into shape, because they have to go like do their job. I'm sure there's fighters out there. Like, there was you know, my husband works at an MMA gym, and there was an MMA fight with two women. The woman that won, like, she had a baby like 2 months before the big fight. And she was like ripped, but also that's her job. It is not my job, from where I'm standing right here, to have a six pack. Like, no one's paying me millions of dollars to go walk a runway or fight anybody. So I'm going to give myself grace and time to allow, and that's most people, you know, like, don't compare yourself to whoever's walking the runway, because you're not walking the runway. They are. That's their job, you
Right.
know?
It's their job. It's their livelihood. And that's a little bit different. But than the paparazzi taking photos of people postpartum and picking them apart, especially if they were, you know, big sex symbols before they had a
Mm-hmm.
child. But, you know, after the birth of each one of my kids, my focus was bonding with my baby and trying to get some sleep, and trying to make the older kids not feel left out of the new baby. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I was not trying to, you know, do sit-ups and crunches and go for runs. I was
No.
really, if I had 20 minutes, I was napping because I was exhausted. And
And
that's
that, I feel like
normal.
a lot of celebrities who had babies during the pandemic like took a sigh of relief, because they could have that time to do whatever they wanted and not feel obligated to go be at a premiere or look a certain way for, whatever, because it's not fair. I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, poor them because they have a lot of things. There's benefits and there's not benefits, and that's one of them. If you're a celebrity of any sort and you just have a baby, there's some eyeball somewhere waiting to see how you look, and you feel like you have to, or you have to go into some sort of hiding. Hopefully, it's just to bond with your child and to, like you said, like even the dogs get weird after a baby comes home. Like you have to make sure you give attention to everyone while you're still trying to keep your new baby happy and healthy. So there's a lot of celebrity body dysmorphia issues happening from endorsements of diets to how quickly they bounce back from a pregnancy or whatever. So
And it's crazy to me what a double standard people have between men and women, because there's this, it's relatively recent, this celebration of the dad bod
yeah.
and this soft bodies of actors and men in their middle-aged time. And women don't get that kind of grace.
No.
They don't get that kind of forgiveness. I mean, we're
No.
supposed to, I don't know, be this idealized version and stay, 22 forever.
Which
And
is crazy. Do you remember Marilyn Monroe, how she actually looked?
yeah,
Like, and men would just like go nuts. Like, she was not a size 0. She was not a size 2. She had curves. She had rolls. Like and she felt like a sex symbol, and people celebrated her. Where's that body image? Like, why are we not celebrating that again?
yeah.
I don't know. Now we're celebrating what I feel like is. Remember Jessica Rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? A lot of women right now are trying to get, and I'm sorry I keep bringing them up, but that like weirdly hourglass that to where it's like unrealistic, and I just want curves to be cool again. I just want people to just love whoever they are, because like you said, you have daughters who are very, they're in their teens and like in their 20s. That's super, super, like those are the years that you're assessing your body the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a 9-year-old who's just coming into that world, and she's already asking me questions about her body that I'm like, really? Like, so I'm wanting this to happen just so that our girls can be in a place where they can just love their bodies no matter what, and not do some crazy thing in spring so that by summer they're a certain body type. You know what I mean? It scares me to know that these people are endorsing a lifestyle that they may not be living, and B is super, super dangerous, to everybody else out there that's watching them. So
Yeah. And what's funny to me is that a lot of male actors who have to lose and gain weight for a movie role, whether they're playing someone who's really ill, like Christian Bale played someone who had like cancer. I don't even remember what movie it was, but he got really, really thin.
Really, really small.
And so did Matthew McConaughey when he was in that movie about the 80s AIDS epidemic. He got really, really thin for that role. I think Jared Leto has done that as well. And they come out and they talk about, how grueling it is on their body to lose and gain this much weight in such a short period of time and what they had to do to achieve that. They're very honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's female celebrities and their weight fluctuates for whatever reason, they are really pressured to come out into the media and say that it was based on a new trainer or a new diet, or they went vegan or whatever it is.
This salad recipe that you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something super simple.
And that's just so negative and so harmful. And we do have a few celebrities who have come out to say, stop talking about my body. I have eating problems. I have maybe not an eating disorder, but I definitely have problems with food. Please stop talking about my body. I know Audrey Hepburn's family, towards the end of her life and after, we're talking about how she had problems with food her whole career, and everyone celebrated the way she looked. That was very in vogue at the time, that kind of twiggy, really thin look. I know Angelina Jolie has come out and said, look, when I'm stressed, I don't eat and it's not healthy. And so stop talking about my body in the press.
Yeah, because they would pick her apart for a really long time about how thin she looked and how like she was constantly, I remember that Angelina Jolie was constantly in the headlines for like being too thin. And like, as a celebrity, if you see that, that's a trigger, to like continue to do whatever you're doing. And so, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, she has daughters. I'm sure that's what she's thinking about when she sees stuff like that on the cover of a magazine about picking apart her body. Demi Lovato has been really open about how the media's pressure for her to look a certain way caused some really severe mental health issues. And I think if more celebrities were open about that, that would benefit society as a whole. Because, the next topic we want to talk about is body positivity, body neutrality, how all bodies are summer bodies. So I think this is an issue that is not just for people who carry maybe a little extra weight or who have things about their body that they don't like. It can just as much be about people who are thin. I feel like you get picked on no matter what your body looks like.
Yep, you do.
Yeah.
You do. I
People say
remember because
eat something. Yeah.
yeah, I've always been thin my whole life. I have like a fast metabolism, and I remember being pregnant. I actually had someone come up to me and ask me if I'm diet, like if I'm trying to stay a certain weight while I was pregnant, basically saying I looked underweight and malnourished. And it's just like, I just kept thinking like, and then they thought it was maybe a compliment. I know a lot of people think like, oh, if you look thin, like it's a compliment. It's not a compliment. Any type of, first of all, like how dare anyone think that they have a right to come up and talk about anyone's body, on any level. Secondly, you don't know what your choice of words is going to go home and cause that person to make certain choices. You know what I mean? It's just whether you're overweight or underweight, like there's body image issues on all spectrums, and I know a lot of people roll their eyes with the whole like, oh, you're thin, like you don't have those issues. No, people do. And it's discouraging, to only think that it's a certain spectrum has that issue when it's not.
Yeah. And you never know. Like if people dramatically gain or lose weight, yeah, you are absolutely right. Don't comment on people's bodies because you don't know what's going on with their health
No.
situation. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Just stop talking about other people's bodies, honestly. And even if you think it's a compliment.
Yeah, it's not.
Even if you think it's a compliment, because my husband's Persian, as you know, and quite a bit older than me. And I don't know if it's generational or cultural, but all of his friends in that community, like that's how they greet each other. They all say, oh, hi. Oh, wow. It looks like you've lost weight, no matter whether it's true or not. It's like, that's how it's like saying, how are you? But they say, oh, you look like you've lost weight to everyone
Really?
all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And I know it's meant like as a compliment. They say it out of like, it's supposed to be sweet, but it's just no longer acceptable to greet someone that way. And I mean, I don't correct them. It is what it is.
Even if you did, they'll change. No, it will continue.
It would be rude of me to do that because they really do think that they're offering a compliment. But I was having issues with my immune system for a while, and I was taking a medication that is like a very low dose of a chemotherapy drug. And I did lose weight on it, not super dramatically, but noticeably. And people were like, oh, you look so great. You've lost it. Not just people in my husband's generation or culture, but people in general. Oh, you look so great. You've lost weight. And I was like, yeah, I'm taking a chemo drug. Thanks for asking. Yeah. I mean, and they were so like taken aback because they meant it as a compliment, but I was going through. They
thought you started some like 8-week
I don't know
plan and got a great trainer or something, and you're like, no, this is life. That's true. Not every transformation comes from this. I'm going to decide to do things that, like, sometimes people could just be going through some stuff and it changes the way you are shaped.
Yeah, I was going through some pretty serious health issues. I was feeling the worst that I'd ever felt in my life. So it wasn't a time that I really wanted to celebrate my body or weight loss or whatever. And the same goes if someone's gained weight. You don't know what they're dealing with. They could be on a new medication. They could be balancing their medications. They could be pregnant and not ready to tell anybody. They could be a million things. Like, just shut up. Stop talking about people's bodies.
They could be going through like relationship issues, and eating is what they've resorted to soothe them because their, relationship is crumbling. Like, it's just such a complex thing that you are right. It is no longer acceptable to talk about because it is no longer so black and white. So, oh, I'm eating salads now and I've seen this trainer and I'm doing yoga. It's like, no, like it's a mental thing too sometimes. I mean, I know
most of the time
when I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed, like I have two spectrums. I either eat all the bad things or I don't eat at all, and I'm already thin. And so, there was a time period where I was just not eating at all. And that's why, or eating very little. and that's why I started this new health journey, because it's forcing me to eat more, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like people would see me and they would comment about how thin I looked. And it's like, it got to a point where it was like they were concerned, but it's like, it's even still when you're concerned, I don't really know when the appropriate time is to tell somebody or to really talk about someone's body. I really don't.
I don't know that there is. If you are not their doctor, don't comment on their body. You can comment on their overall well-being and their mental well-being and ask them if they're okay.
Mm-hmm,
Please ask people
mm-hmm.
if they are okay.
If you feel like there's something going on and it shows physically, don't start with anything that's like physical
No,
related. Go
no.
deeper than the skin and what you see, because there's stuff going on in there that you can talk to them about.
Yeah, let them know that you're here for them if they need to talk to someone. Let them know that you're worried about them, that you care. Those are, I mean, everyone needs to hear that.
Yeah.
It, not even about body issues, just check in on people in general. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, unless you are their doctor, do not comment on their weight or their body. That's
Mm-hmm.
my rule in general. It's like asking a woman if she's pregnant, unless she is like the baby's head
Unless
is
it's
crowning,
very obvious.
or the baby's head is crowning and she is giving birth in front of you. Do not ask her if she's pregnant.
Oh man, because even if you're right, no woman wants. I don't know. You just don't go there. Just
Yeah.
don't go there with weight, with all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When I was pregnant with my youngest, my fourth child, right? I had had 4 kids in a very short period of time. So my body's elasticity was just like, see you later. And I was humongous. The large size maternity clothes stopped fitting me about 6 months in. I was wearing like men's clothes from like the big and tall. It was just ridiculous. And people would ask me all the time, "Oh, you're about ready to pop, aren't you?" I'm like, "I'm only 6 months pregnant." Or they would be like, "Are you sure you're not having twins or triplets?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty well, the doctors know better than me." And they say, "No, it's just one baby. I'm just huge. Thank you for asking." I mean, it was just, I was already like, I just wanted to have a healthy baby.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what everybody wants. But I was so uncomfortable in my skin and in my body that having other people feel like, and I feel like when you're pregnant, everybody feels like they get to comment on your body, how big
Oh
you
yeah.
are, how you're
Touch your
carrying.
body. Can I kick
Yeah.
it? Feel it kick? Like, mm-mm. No, they're always checking in on your body and being vocal about it. It's weird.
Right. Or saying things about what you're eating, what you're not eating. People have to give themselves this permission to totally violate pregnant women's body space and head space with their commentary. Tell them horrible delivery stories. Tell them, I mean, uh, it's not good unless you know that person very well and that person is a close friend or family member. Just let it go, because in today's world too, people carry babies for other people. People might be giving that baby up for adoption. This might be a very emotional time for that person. They might not be happy about being pregnant. Anything could be the case. You don't know their situation. So just, congratulate them if you want to, but otherwise keep your mouth shut. Like let pregnant women be.
You're, oh man, it's such a weird time. Yeah, and you're right. Everyone feels like they have a right to give all these types of weird advice or tell their stories, and they stick with you. Like, I remember when I was pregnant with Emma, my first pregnancy, my friend, she told me that the epidural only worked on like half her body, like just the left side. I
Yeah.
was like 3 months in. And so I carried that story with me the whole way up until like I was all epiduraled up. I was like, okay, numb everywhere. We're good now. Like, because they stick with you. So like, you think you're you're having a conversation, you think it's like not harmful, but like, no, it is. You gotta just cheer the pregnant women on and don't touch their bellies and don't talk to them about their bodies. And like, if they ask you an opinion or advice, for sure, but don't just give unwarranted advice or stories, because like, it's already a weird time. Like,
I think that's a good rule of thumb in general. Unless somebody asks for my opinion, I tend not to give it. If they ask me, I'm happy. I feel like I have a lot of wisdom to share. I'm happy to give it. But if no one's asking me, I'm keeping my mouth shut, because I
yeah.
don't know their whole situation. And for me to stick my nose and everything. And it used to be that people would give you advice unsolicited I mean, on the bus, sitting in a doctor's office, like everywhere. People love to get, not just pregnant women, just in general. When my kids were small, older women especially love to give me unsolicited parenting advice. Um, or right before you get married, everyone loves to give you unsolicited marital advice.
Yeah.
I just think as a rule,
Just
unless
keep
they
it
ask,
to yourself. Yeah.
mhm,
Hmm.
yeah, because everybody's situation is too individual.
Exactly. Do you feel like you've noticed like a growth in seeing more curvaceous and more, like, I'm going to use the term normally shaped women in like bathing suit advertisements and like commercials and stuff like that? I feel like we want to be like whatever we see a lot, you know? And
Of course.
if we see the curvy woman in her bathing suit, but she's like the eighth woman back and all the women in front are like these trigger sending body images, but now the curvy woman I feel is more like in the forefront with her skinny girlfriends hanging out on the side. I feel like Target, I feel like I've seen a lot of curvy women being, you know, showcased. Could just be me. I just feel like that is a good direction in like every body is a summer body thing. When you see literally every body being represented in these high, big, you know, overdone commercials and posters when you're
Well,
walking and shopping.
I think the first time I noticed it was with the Dove ads for real
Mm,
bodies where they
yeah.
didn't retouch and they had every size, color, shape, whatever. And I think that campaign really opened people's conversations up to the subject of inclusivity and diversity in media. And it's not just body types, it's also, you know, skin colors and ethnicities and disabilities and
Mm-hmm.
I mean everything. And I think that was an eye opener for a lot of people that they maybe for the first time they had seen someone who actually looked like them in a magazine ad and
Yep.
they realized how great that made them feel. And I think it opened up the discussion to how many other groups of people had never seen themselves in a big media campaign,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's, you know, women who wear a hijab, someone in a wheelchair, different ethnicities, whatever it is that they don't really get pushed out to the forefront of media campaigns there, or even age issues. You know, everyone
Mm-hmm.
wants to hit 18 to 35. But now we see women in major cosmetics campaigns with gray hair and older, over 60 even. And I think that's fantastic. I also think
Fantastic.
all of the you know, we're just starting to see like Sports Illustrated swimsuit models and some Victoria's Secret models a little bit larger size where they call them plus size models. Now plus size models could be size 8. They could
Mm-hmm.
be a size 8 and be considered a plus size model. So it's not still, I mean, the average American woman is a size 14. So it's still maybe not completely representative of what our actual bodies look like, or like the mom body, the mom tummy. You know, if you've had a lot of kids and you have that, like, I call it my kangaroo pouch, like my little, where my babies were kept, you know,
Yeah.
there are influencers now who, you know, make it a point to post bikini photos with their kangaroo pouch hanging out. And I love
Good.
it. I
Yeah.
love it because when you see representative of yourself in the media, it just makes you feel like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. This is normal and should be celebrated. Everybody should be celebrated for exactly who they are.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think that lends itself to body neutrality, where we're not hating on our bodies, we're not celebrating a specific ideal. It's our bodies function to do a million things for us every day. And the way they look should be very low on that list. You know, our bodies get us around. They are, they keep us alive. They let us do sports. They let us do active things. There's a lot our bodies do for us every day. And, you know, looking hot to the opposite sex is probably very low on the list of priorities, or it should be. It really should be. So, I mean, when my daughters were like a little, probably starting at Emma's age,
Mm-hmm.
I had them in sports. And one of the things that I really pushed for them was like anytime they achieved something in a sport, that a goal they had set for themselves, was look at how strong your body is. Look at what your body can do for you. Look at all the things that you're accomplishing by having a strong body. And I tried to kind of refocus their perspective versus like looking at Victoria's Secret at the time was pretty bad,
Mm-hmm.
to celebrating their body for the achievements it was doing in their activities.
Mhm.
And I think that really gave them a healthier perspective when they were teenagers, because they were, like nationally ranked athletes at one time. And I think having the kind of body that could perform what they needed it to perform in competition was more important to them at that time than having a particular look. I know my older daughter would complain sometimes that she thought she was too muscly. Um, and because her body didn't look like the advertisements at Abercrombie or whatever. But I would
Yeah.
remind her, like, look what your body can do. Like, look at what you've
No, I
achieved with that
remember.
body.
Like,
Yeah,
I
you
remember
were around
her
then. You
being my
remember.
age, and I remember her, like, all the amazing things she can do, and I just remember her being self-conscious of that. Um, yeah, like, it just sucks that we and now we live in an even more toxic situation where we have, like, filters on Instagram where you don't even have to look like yourself anymore, and apps that you can, bring your butt out and tone your waist in, and it's like what you're seeing isn't even like a real person. It's like literally a drawing, chopped up version, filtered version. I'm guilty of using filters probably most of the time that I'm on Instagram. And that's just because, like, hi, I have kids. I don't have time to make it look like that. If you can throw on some fake lashes, that'll save me 5 minutes. But I mean, when my 9-year-old use it and she sees herself with a full thing of makeup, like, of course she feels great, but it's also making me think, what is that doing to her psyche, and making
Yeah.
her think like, oh, well, this is me without it. I'm nothing. And this is me with it. Now I'm something. It's like we have all these things that celebrities aren't even endorsing, that are just causing and triggering us at all ages to think that, like, us as we are not enough, and we have to constantly tone up, tan up, smooth out, like shape something. And we just need to get to a point where we just are loving who we are for who we are. And the more campaigns like the Dove campaign, my girls really love Barbies, and Barbie has a whole line of dolls. Like, we have dolls in our house that have wheelchairs, that have no hair, that have one leg, that have, I'm not sure what the skin condition is that it's called, where some parts of your skin are different color. And I think it's really important to have those dolls around so that they understand that there's more than just this blonde little shaped Barbie doll out there. But also, how cool is it to finally walk the aisles and see somebody that looks like you? I think that's
So
important at
important.
all ages, because then you're loving yourself for who you are, and you're being seen for who you are and accepted for who you are. You're not being told that you have to constantly change because the thing you're playing with or the person you're watching looks different than you. So I think it's important to put inclusivity, yes, in the young doll section, but also in, like, the ages when you're, like you said, 60 and you don't see anybody like you in commercials anymore. What, am I worthless now? No,
Right.
there's beautiful women out there that are 60, 70 and up, and that could totally rock it, probably better than me, but they're not being seen because society makes them feel like they're not worthy of being seen. So the more
Exactly.
we include all kinds of people, ethnicity, shapes, sizes, it's just going to be a better place for everyone to live in. And
Yeah.
we'll prioritize our lives a little bit more better, and not put so much of an emphasis on our looks. Which, yeah, you should feel confident and feel pretty, but to yourself, whatever version is of that is to you, not because somebody else told you to look like that.
Well, and that's one of the things I think is so important when you have kids, especially daughters, um, that you make sure that you compliment them on everything that they are achieving, because the way that they look when you're a child is not an achievement.
Mm-mm.
When you're an adult, you can look really put together. You can spend time on your appearance, and you
Yeah.
can work out, do your makeup like really, really well, which I cannot do. Anytime I see somebody with their makeup done
Filters.
really well, I'm like,
Oh,
girl,
man.
teach me.
Teach me.
Yeah. Or they can, they put their clothes together really well, or they, are really fit, whatever it is that you can actually compliment someone, on, because, it takes effort when you're older to,
Of
like,
course.
pull yourself together. As a kid, the way you look is not an achievement.
No.
And when my daughters were small, they would get a lot of compliments from people, strangers, whatever, family members, on the way that they looked. And so I really had to kind of counterbalance that by telling them all the time, that the way you look is just like some weird genetic lottery. Like, you pulled the slot machine handle and you got all sevens, but you didn't achieve any, that wasn't an accomplishment. You did
Yeah.
nothing for that. So that's not an asset. Don't think of it as an asset, because that's a really dangerous space to live your life. It's easy when you're conventionally attractive to rely on that and let everything else kind of fall away. And for women, that's a dangerous place to live
Mm-hmm.
because, it's, for one, it's not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
It's fleeting, and all your life you're going to be relying on something that wasn't something that you achieved on your own. So if you focus as on kids, telling them that they're smart, they're strong, they're a good friend, they're a good sister, um, all the things that they can actually have control over, because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have control over the way that they look when they're a child. So if you focus on things that they have control over and that they can actually be proud of as an achievement, I think that changes the game a lot if
Mm-hmm.
you start that when they're small.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's always constantly telling them how cute they are, how pretty they are, what a pretty little princess, whatever, they do start to kind of rely on that a little bit. And that's when, they can take the job that's a pretty girl job rather than a job that maybe they actually qualified for and got based on achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's a slippery slope, right? Because that could really go south. So you want to make sure that they know that they are capable of being a lot of things and that they don't owe anyone being pretty. They don't owe
No.
anybody by or society by looking a certain way. They can look however they want. If
Mm-hmm.
they have a specific style or look that they love, let them rock it, and don't tell them, oh
Change
no,
it because it's
no,
not on brand with whatever you're trying to do. Yeah, just let them be
exactly.
themselves and
Hmm.
like celebrate that. But also don't highlight just what's on the outside. You're right. Highlight the things that they're achieving and the person that they are, the things that like really matter at the end of the day, like how kind they are, how, all those things. Yeah.
Right.
That's it starts young because
Because
that's all where it starts.
those are their assets, their brain, their strength, their character, their integrity, how their relationships that they build with their friends, those are assets. The way that they look, not an asset.
No.
And as women, we can make that an asset. I mean, from the beginning of time, right? We
Yes,
can monetize the way
it's
that we
certainly
look.
great to utilize as a tool for, yeah, but it is not all people have to offer,
Right.
and all they should spend their time and their energy focusing on.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with women who monetize their bodies and the way that they look. I don't see it as any different than, a big strong man being a mover, right? He's utilizing his body in a way that makes him money because he happens to be strong and have the muscles to do
Yeah,
that. I don't. Um,
right.
so I have no problem with women who monetize their bodies or the way that they look at all. But I think we need to give our daughters choices. We
Hmm.
need to let them know that they have a lot of choices and that they can do whatever they want to do, whether that
Yep.
involves using their bodies, using their minds, just to let them know everything is an option for them. That widens their perspective rather than narrows it.
Hmm.
And that's really important, especially now in the media that we have now. And I think, like you said, advertisers are starting to recognize how important it is to be inclusive and to be diverse.
Like
Um,
they could be adding to the problem
right.
slightly by selecting certain people and only certain people to be seen on like these huge platforms, like when you walk into a Target, those huge images or the commercials, like they are adding to the problem when they're only casting certain types of bodies and people and ethnicities,
Yeah, and
so
abilities, like everything. And I think you're right. When you can walk down the aisle of the doll aisle at the store and see someone who looks like you, it makes you feel worthy and
mhm.
represented. And that's been missing for a long time. So that's a huge, I mean, we're getting there. We're getting
Yeah.
there. We're making
We're
huge
making baby
progress.
steps. And there are certain brands that have woken up. And those are the brands that I will like put my energy and time towards and endorse and be all about. And then there's ones that are just so stuck in whatever they're doing because it's making them money and they don't care how toxic it is, that those are the ones that are, I mean, we're moving in the right direction. And eventually they'll have to join in because, no one likes people feeling insecure about their bodies. I don't care how much money it's going to make you. No one likes to feel the way it feels when we feel that way, and when we wake up and feel like we're at a 10 just the way we are and we don't have to do a thing about it, and what we're providing for the world through our brain and our character and our integrity, and that is more important, then that's going to be the best place to be.
Yeah.
All the other
And
stuff is great. you know
and I, for one, as a consumer, I know that I'm super privileged, right? I'm white, I'm heterosexual, I'm cisgender, I have my full abilities. I'm probably one of the most privileged segments of people. So I think for me, it's important that I vote with not only voting, but with my dollars. I vote as a consumer with how I spend my money. And even though I've always seen myself represented in ads, it's more important than ever that I look around and I notice brands, like you said, that are promoting diversity and inclusivity. And I need to pay attention to that as a consumer so that I can put my dollars behind brands that are representing, at least in their advertising, what I think is the right direction. And then,
Exactly.
from there we go to the next step of, okay, are they actually representing this kind of diversity and inclusion in their corporate board and in their employee
Is it just
percentages?
for show, or is it all around a good place to be? I
Right.
see that too.
Because a lot of brands are doing this thing we call woke washing, right? Where it's performative allyship.
Yeah.
And it's a good step. We don't want to, reprimand companies who are at least taking the
Trying.
first baby steps.
Yeah.
And then we have to hope that the actual structural work behind that will follow. Because
Yes.
if we all vote with our dollars and they see that these advertising campaigns that are inclusive are earning them money, corporate America, that's what they listen to. They listen to the
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah, they
So
do.
we have to promote that. And then once they get there, we start calling them out on the corporate diversity. And that's the next step. And I think as a society, we are becoming more and more aware of things like this. And we are being more and more vocal about what we expect from the companies that we support. So
Yeah.
that's super important. And
Well, it's uncomfortable when you support a company and then you find out really behind the scenes they are a certain way, and you're like, well, now I feel duped. We don't like to feel duped. We don't like to feel lied to, so that is all equally as important as what you're showing us. We
right.
want to make sure that you're also in line with what you're showing us, because if it's all for show, then I'm, like, this magic trick isn't working for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on TikTok last night and I watched this TikTok about the company Lane Bryant, which is, very, very old company of for women who are plus size or in between. And I've always thought, that is so important what they're doing because it can be so hard to find a lot of sizing. At least it was. It's starting to get so much better.
Yeah, like stylish clothes at a certain
Right.
sizing where you didn't feel like you just had to throw on anything. That was
Yeah.
important and hard to find for a while.
And Lane Bryant has always promoted themselves as a female founded, female run company. And they are female founded. They were actually the first company to make maternity wear commercial, which was so important also. But
Hmm.
this TikTok that I watched last night was about how Lane Bryant is actually run all by men, and like their CEO, their VPs, their SVPs, men. And now that I have not like fact checked that. That was so eye opening to me
It just
because
makes you wonder.
when I started the website, I went to a lot of the other websites that I've always read and thought that would kind of be competitor domains to ours. And I was very surprised how a lot of these websites who are, geared towards women as we are fully led by men or founded by men. Shocked me because I just assumed that they were female led or female founded, and that was not the case with a lot of them. I'm not going to call them out specifically on here because they are our competitors. That's kind of not very nice. But I do think as if you have a company that you love and you support and you see them doing positive things, spend your dollars on that. That's how we as a capitalist society vote. And also check out their corporate structure, read their Wikipedia page, whatever it is, and see that their corporate values are kind of mirroring the values that they're promoting in their
Yeah,
advertising. Because a lot of times they're not.
they're
And we
not.
do we do need to know that. We need to do a little more research on how we spend our money because that's
We
really what's
do.
going to make change.
As an influencer, there was a brand, I won't name it, but there was a brand that I worked with that I really loved working with, and I found out that that they were like major Trump supporters. Not like I'm not personally. I don't. That doesn't in line with who I am. As far as like, I don't think that, oh, because they voted differently politically, I need to like cancel them completely. But what I'm representing also it shows on me. And so it's like I didn't know that, but I didn't do any research. I just really liked their brand, what they look like, what I saw from like the face value. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that
Yeah.
I didn't do any research on the people I was partnering with and to make sure they were in line with like what I like to live my life as. And just they can live their life the way they want, but if it's not what I would normally support, I'd want to know that. So it is very important to do your research on things that you're, maybe regularly spending your money on or following, to make sure that it is something that you are down with, whatever that is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if they're doing anything at all in their company that doesn't in line with what you thought they were doing, then maybe you should consider putting your money somewhere else that's similar, that is more in line with what what
A
you're
hundred
down with.
percent.
You know what I mean? And that's your choice as a consumer. You can make that choice. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because you don't want to put your money there anymore because you saw something. That's your choice. There's so many options out there, and we should put our money towards things that are working in the positive direction,
Exactly.
whatever that is. So yeah, I love the fact that I'm now seeing more people of shapes and sizes and color being not, I mean, they were kind of there, you know what I mean? But now they're like in the front, like they're representing that, and not just in the front in like a Mumu style one piece, like homegirls rocking a two piece with confidence, and she's got a shaved head and she's curvy and it's beautiful. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like thing that gets me fired up when I see that, because I'm like, that would have never, ever, ever, ever been even considered, like not that long ago, and now we're in a world where it's like you see that and you see it. That's the first thing you see when you walk in. And like, that is where I want to spend my money, when people are like moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, and for so long, the media fed us this line about how there is one type of body that's beautiful. There is one type of aesthetic that's beautiful. And we were just supposed to accept that. So
Yeah.
if your personal tastes didn't mirror that, you had
Yep.
to ask yourself, like, what's wrong with me? That
Or
I'm
how
I'm
can I be that
attracted.
person? How can I change myself to look like that?
Right. Or if you were attracted to a different body type than that, or a different look than that, what's wrong with me? It was
Yeah.
the mindset. So for the fact that we don't have this narrow definition of what's beautiful anymore, and we can celebrate every different type of, to me, the most beautiful thing a person can be is authentic to themselves. When you see someone who is living their authentic life and is just happy with where they are, and they don't feel repressed, and they don't feel like they have to conform to anything, and they are just out
Mm-hmm.
there living happily,
An
that to me.
unfiltered life, not worrying about what everybody else
Mhm.
is thinking. That's that. And you can tell who those people are. You
They
know what I mean?
radiate, yeah, they're radiant.
Radiated.
It's so positive. And I
Because
think,
they've accepted themselves wholly, and they're not looking for outside, people to tell them that they're worthy or that that's good.
right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's really important, that we have people from every different background, every different demographic represented and celebrated as beautiful, not included. And okay, we covered everything. No, like actually celebrated.
Hmm.
And I think we're on track for that. I think that's
Yep.
starting to happen. And that
Yeah.
makes me really, really happy. Makes me really, really happy for my daughters, makes me really, really happy for my granddaughter. I think, just thinking that she's 9, she's Megan's age, right? I mean, she's Emma's age. Just makes me happy that maybe they'll grow up in a time and place that is so different from how I did in the 80s and early 90s. And, we were all, it was all Pamela Anderson, and that was the way
Oh
you were supposed
man.
to look.
We all have our Pam Anderson of our time, right? And it's just crazy. And it starts so young, and you just want so badly to look like that. And it's because, people the opinions that you care about have put importance on that. It's like, well, men like that, so that's what I have to look like so that men like me. No, no, no. It's like, that's not what's important. But you can say it all you want to a 9, 10, 11, 14-year-old, 22-year-old. They're still going to go through that completely normal stage of like comparison and trying to fit in and trying to figure out who they are. But the added stuff that we have going on now, that's the part that we want to stop, because you always have to go through that on some level. But now it's like unrealistic and unfair. If we keep going in a certain direction, it's got to kind of change, because it's just not going to be fair for, your granddaughter Emma, or Kenzie's 4. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even
Yeah.
want to think about what age she's going to be when that becomes a thing and what that's going to look like. I'm hoping it'll be better. I'm hoping that, when you're 4 and you can wear all the mismatched things and feel like at 100, I want that 4-year-old like confidence, like the things she wore to school today. No, I don't get it, but she feels like a 10 right now. She's like walked into school like Beyonce, like, look at me in my witch hat and my Halloween outfit with my Christmas necklace and my pink sparkly boots. Like, I'm 10. Like, I want everyone to be like that. We're all so insecure with what we need to change so that we look a certain way. Just like rock you, rock the weird boots and the Christmas necklace,
Yeah. And I think that's the end goal. And we're getting closer to it every day, where we can live externally the way we see ourselves internally. However we imagine our avatar to be inside our head, when we can actually be that person in our everyday life, and it's fine. You can wear something unconventional to work, and you can, dye your hair purple. You can have tattoos that are visible. Like, you can do whatever you want.
We're getting there for the first time. I know it's weird because I know everything about Disneyland, but Disneyland is now allowing their cast members to be seen with tattoos. Like, obviously Snow White can't have a tattoo, but like, you used to be able to not have different color hair. Facial hair was not allowed. You couldn't have tattoos. And now people are like, they can be themselves, because I think somebody told them that making them conform to a certain look is like mentally unhealthy. They can be themselves now. And I think that's great.
Yeah. I think for all of our mental health, us living our authentic lives and being who we see ourselves to being able to be that on the outside and be accepted by society, and by, you can have a grown-up job and have tattoos or facial hair, or whatever. You can be a mom.
You're a criminal.
Yeah. You can be a mom and have purple hair and dress however you want. I mean, you can do anything you want. And I think we're getting there, and I'm so happy to see that.
Yeah, me too. Well, this was a good conversation. I could talk about this topic all day, especially anyone with daughters, especially, for sure. This topic could go on and on and on. So but this was a good one.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody for joining us today. And we'll be back next week with a new episode. I think we did pretty good today, considering that neither one of us felt prepared.
No, and we went longer than we normally do.
Because we had a lot to say. It's
such a topic that's like, just especially with summer coming in too. And people now, that's the thing, is like 2020, no one saw anybody. You could rock sweatpants for all year, no one would care. But now people are traveling again. They might be seen in the summer, and it's like, well, now I got to get back in summer bod shape. So this was a good topic, because I think it's back again on everybody's mind, because people are getting out and about a bit more.
Right. And their bodies might be different than they were pre-COVID quarantine.
Love them for it.
Yes. And I think if we
bikini body, step 1, put a bikini on your body. Step 2, you're done. You have a bikini body. Like, that's it. Don't overthink it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, I will talk to you next week. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget to bookmark our site, she'safullonmonet.com, and subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're enjoying this podcast, it helps us a lot if you can follow, rate, and review. See y'all next week.